What's something non-sexual that screams this person's gonna be horrible at sex? If they have a huge sense of entitlement. This is the best answer. I was going to suggest selfishness, but it comes to the same, a person that will consider your needs a nuisance in the way of them getting what they want. All they do is talk about themselves. Probably too self-absorbed to care if you are enjoying it. Strangely enough, the opposite is just as bad, imo. Being too concerned for the other person, so never enjoying themselves, worrying constantly and never being in the moment. The inability to listen, and overconfidence. If they are selfish in the streets, they are selfish in the sheets. A person who can talk about themselves non-stop without ever asking a question about you. It should be the least shocking thing in the world that this carries over into other areas, but somehow, that wasn't a simple lesson to learn. Making horny AskReddit posts. Questionable hygiene. Equally, neurotic obsessive hygiene. You really want to find someone in the middle there who enjoys a good shower but isn't revolted by human bodies. OMG, I had decent sex with a guy once, it was just so but not bad, and he immediately got up after finishing, left me in bed, and showered. This guy was like clinical about the whole thing from start to finish. I was like, sir, can you chill? I don't know about y'all, but the best sex I've had is sweaty, hot, and then you lay there for 20 minutes reveling in the sweaty hot sex you just had. If you're scared to sweat during sex, you're probably not very fun, lol. Edit. Obviously I do not mean you should lay in your own filth, WTF. They don't actually listen. If they just assume that they are awesome at sex. Everyone is different. Listening to your partner and paying attention to what they want makes a huge difference. I had an ex who would talk about how something he did would always get one of his exes to come, in the kind of way where he was basically accusing me of not cooperating. Nah man, I'm just a totally different person than she was. But now that I think about it, being compared to your ex by how much we're different in bed is also super sexy, so keep that up for sure. I never got how some people don't grasp how talking about exes is only about their own feelings and problems and not their partner's. Like, it might be something to talk about when feeling vulnerable and trusting the person you're sharing with, but it is an absolute turn off to be compared to exes. Although, at the same time, I apparently didn't get the memo about not talking about completely made up dream girls. But you don't get it? The girl next door was down to bone, but I wasn't feeling it because it wasn't you. To be young and cringy again. When I talk about my ex, I'll simply say, she was a good gal, but things didn't work out. I still get along with her dad now, although I haven't spoken to her in 7 years. Otherwise the rest is in the past and doesn't need to be disclosed unless for specific recollections of the past. Bad breath, too drunk, too sloppy, bad hygiene. They call themselves alpha. Early in development, unstable, not safe to release in public, and doesn't even work as advertised. Alpha is like Stan, in that it is a great term because it does actually describe the people that use it, just not in the way they mean. What is Stan? Help me out, I am old. So, there's this Eminem song called Stan about an obsessive, mentally unstable fan who, when his letters to Eminem get lost in the mail, goes on a downward spiral ending with a murder-suicide. Basically it's a song about how messed up parasocial relationships, fandom, and obsession are. A few years ago it became pretty common to use stan as a synonym for a really big fan, kind of ironically. Except, well, fandom these days is a pretty monstrous thing. I mean, sure, I don't remember any recent stories about anything as horrible as happens in the song, but parasocial relationships are basically the norm now. Obsessive fans that seem to spend more time hating and ranting at the creators they're supposedly fans of are pretty common, and it still mostly happens because of sort of banal and pathetic misunderstandings that get blown all out of proportion than any ill intent on behalf of the creator. I had a friend once tell me he can't touch or deal with anything slimy in texture. Horniness genuinely overrides to some extent normal repulsive responses. Think about how adamantly you would avoid contact with other people's bodily fluids in any non-sexual context. Or most weird slimes for that matter. But get a little horny and fuck it, roll me in it. We have a biological imperative to avoid contact with gooey things to protect against disease. We have a biological imperative to exchange gooey stuff with each other to procreate. The later has to override the former in order for the later to work. This is how fetishes happen. Like weird gross ones. Horniness is a mechanism to not only relax repulsion, but reverse it. Sometimes it works too well. If they have vertigo and avian bone syndrome, patronizing, superiority, judgmental, high maintenance, basically anything that lets you know that they lack awareness of or care for other people. Holds true for M/F/anyone, emo. Honestly, I think lacking empathy and compassion are really big signs that someone isn't going to be good in bed. You need to actually care and want your partner to enjoy themselves and feel good to be great at sex. When he or she brags about how great they are in the sack. I once got a blowjob from the self-titled blowjob queen. It must have been a small kingdom. People who don't apply the time and persistence/patience required to slowly unravel the mysteries of anything in life. If they're not open to doing it for other things, they're not going to do it for you. My life changed recently. After some healing, I realized that this is who I wanted to be. I'm glad at least one person recognizes it. I was unsure where this was gonna take me. Being a sore loser. One of my partners was super competitive. He hates losing. We played one of my favorite board games only once in 4 years, as he lost and claimed it was stupid and never again wanted to play, but he was always great in bed. He wants to be the best after all. He was the only man I've ever been with that actually asked me after we had sex a few times, what I thought he could improve. When he tried different things, he'd usually ask my opinion later if I liked it, and when he found out I never had an orgasm during sex, he made it his goal to get me there. Best sex I've ever had was with him. I guess due his competitiveness he wanted to earn this badge as well. When they kiss you and mash their lips into yours so that your own lips get smushed and pinched into your gums and teeth. It looks like an expression of emotion when you see it on TV, but motherfucker, I got a skull behind these lips. Seriously, it's a predictor of physical incompetence, absence of proprioception, and lack of empathy. Dirty fingernails. Every time. Edit, if you work with your hands for a living, and you got calloused hands or mechanic hands, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about longer/unkempt fingernails with debris underneath them. My wife's take: if you wouldn't eat with them, don't stick 'em. I remember someone mentioning the cat test, where if they can't properly pet a cat they're awful in bed. Something about how it shows awareness as well as understanding what they like. Cats are all about boundaries. If you present yourself as calm, non-disruptive, and not overstimulating, they'll eventually warm up to coming to you because you're nice to be around. Then there's the toddler approach, where somebody sees the cat, gets it in their mind that they want to touch the cat, and just mindlessly chase after it, freaking it out. If the cat is caught, they're typically restrained so they can be petted probably longer than they'd like by somebody loud and obnoxious. I'm suspicious of people who say they dislike cats, but they can come off a little elitist sometimes, snubbing us as they sunbathe while we toil to feed, shelter, and medicate them. But it is just a wave of red flags when somebody claims that cats hate them. Cats are happy to simply ignore people who dislike cats. To get the impression that they hate you either suggests that you provoked them in some way or that you expected their attention and adoration by simply existing. They don't put the cart back into the cart return. If they can't do something that easy just to make someone else's life easier, then I can only imagine how selfish they are in bed. A girl once told me most men with plus 10-inch were the worst at sex. Their dicks were their personalities. I don't know if she was right, but she told me an average guy who put in the effort was 1,000 times better than the other guys. If you enjoyed the video, hit that like button and subscribe if you are interested in more Reddit content. See you in next video.